I know how we can make the show great again.
How's that?
Ron
There
Jaworski.
you
We
go.
love when Ron is on with us, and we've got a big weekend coming up in football, and we welcome him to the show. Ron, it's Michael, Don, and Peter. How are you today?
Michael, Don, Peter, always a pleasure being with you, especially with this championship weekend coming up. And no doubt the ornaments on the tree this weekend are the quarterbacks. The 4 starters have 7 World Championship Vince Lombardi trophies to their credit. And by the way, the one that does it, Matt Ryan, he's a league MVP. So this is a weekend of quarterback play.
Now, we had a little bit of a fun bit yesterday, and I just want you to take part in it as well. If you had to draft these 4 quarterbacks, not on the future, not on what they've done in the past, what is the order of the quarterbacks that you would pick?
I think Tom Brady is the greatest quarterback ever to play the game, so he would be number 1. I would probably have to go with Aaron Rodgers at number 2, Big Ben at number 3, and Matt at number 4. I think you'd probably, people in Pittsburgh would disagree, or Steeler fans. Ben has won a couple of world championships. Aaron has only won 1, but I think the way Aaron is playing right now, I'd have to put him in that number 2 spot.
All right, we spent so much time on the quarterbacks, but they've got to be protected. They've got to run the ball a little bit. They've got to throw to wide receivers. So of the 4 offenses right now, which one's the best?
I think Atlanta. And it's kind of interesting you asked that question because as I monitor offensive line play, the wonk that I am, I'm sitting in my office right now at NFL Films going through tape. So as I watch offensive lines play this year, of the top 5, 4 of them are playing this weekend. I actually thought the Tennessee Titans were at number 5 and the Oakland Raiders at number 6 in my O-line rankings. So you can see how important it is to have solid offensive lines, and that really sets up the quarterbacks. And I say Atlanta is probably the most prepared because of all the dimensions they have. Yeah, we know they have Julio Jones and all the things that he can do down the field. We know they're great running backs in Tevin Coleman, Devontae Freeman, what they can do. Alex Mack certainly has come in and solidified the offensive line. But when you have a quarterback, a veteran now, a seasoned veteran like Matt Ryan, and you give him all these weapons, it shows what he can do, league MVP. So I think all the best weapons to me are in Atlanta.
Yesterday we had a really fun talk, Jaws, about whether or not this is, in fact, the greatest QB matchup of all time, which I believe it is. Pound for pound, these two guys, I don't think we've ever seen these two good, especially at such a great point in their career, square off. You think this is the best? If we were to get Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers in the Super Bowl, would it be the greatest Super Bowl quarterback matchup ever?
Wow. My knee-jerk decision would be yes. I'd probably have to go back and research the previous 50 Super Bowls and look at all those matchups. But the way these guys are playing right now, at an incredibly high level. Watching Aaron Rodgers, he had a little slump mid-season, about 3 or 4 games where I didn't think he was sharp. They had lost 4 in a row. He came back on a Monday night game against Philadelphia, and he has been smoking hot ever since. I said a moment ago, I think Tom Brady is the greatest quarterback of all time, and for years I said Joe Montana, and all of a sudden Tom Brady won number 4, and I elevated Tom Brady. As far as quarterback talent goes, it's hard not to say Aaron Rodgers is the most talented passer I have ever seen. And I played with Dan Marino for 2 years, who was an unbelievably gifted passer. But when you watch Aaron Rodgers, the way he can research a defense, search out receivers, look at the offensive line, which we all say is a no-no, don't drop your face mask and look for lanes. He does that. Then he finds people down the field, and the throws he makes are just so uncommon. I watched that play to Jared Cook 50 times this week.
It was unbelievable.
I'm telling you, I couldn't believe that throw. It was incredible. But then if you watch Aaron Rodgers, you shouldn't be surprised.
I'm looking at the Brady situation. I hear you say what you said, and I would agree with you, and whatever that means. And I just wonder why, though. Because he doesn't have the big-time arm. He doesn't have the escapability. He never seems to have great talent around him other than Randy Moss as a wide receiver and obviously Gronk, who's not playing now. But the cast changes, and he stays the same. But the physical talent is not off the charts great. He doesn't have Aaron Rodgers' arm or anything like that or his foot speed. What makes him what he is?
I think system familiarity is really important for Tom Brady. And we all know how hard he works in his preparation. When you play for Josh McDaniel and Bill Belichick, you're going to put the time in. Obviously, Tom Brady is still highly motivated and driven to win. I was with Danny Klecko last night at an event, and he talked about how Tom Brady in the huddle, and remember, Dan won a couple Super Bowls with him in New England. He talked about how Tom raises the intensity of every single player. And one guy can do that, and Tom has done it. So obviously, he may not have been the greatest talent coming out of Michigan, but he's worked hard and developed that talent. And I think the system familiarity is very important. So whatever they draw up each and every week, because they are a chameleon offense, what you saw last week will be a 180 this week. It'll be totally different from formation, from personnel, from trading matchups. Their receivers couldn't get open last week against the Texans secondary. The Texans played a lot of man-to-man. Romeo Crennel had a great game plan. They took away the receivers of the New England Patriots. So who do they go to? No, they go to White, they go to Lewis, they go to guys like that, and they match up the linebackers. So to me, system familiarity and how to use all his weapons is critical for Tom Brady.
What's deficient in Matt Ryan's game is just the inexperience, right? He's only won 2 playoff games compared to Rodgers, Roethlisberger, and Brady. Where does that hurt you in a big game like this, being inexperienced or going up against a quarterback and a team that has more experience than you?
Now, I will say this. For Matt Ryan last week, they just took the piano off his back. You know, everyone always talked about Matt Ryan, regular season stats, maybe not quite a first tier, whatever that means. I tier these guys, and I'm really always not quite sure what I'm tiering. But I always have them up near, around 8, 9, or 10. Never moved them up because the playoff performance just wasn't there. He didn't show the leadership and the ability to win and make plays in those critical situations. Last week, he did. And to me, that weight came off Matty Ice's shoulder, that he can be in a situation at the 1-yard line, and he takes his team 99 yards. So I think the guy, when they got in that locker room, that really had the biggest sigh of relief was Matt Ryan. And I think he'll be a much more loose quarterback on Sunday and a much more confident quarterback on Sunday. It's amazing what wins can do for your psyche.
We're talking to our very own Ron Jaworski here on the Michael Kay Show, looking ahead to what should be a great Sunday. Let's put you to work here. Let's make you, make a pick. All right, so we've got the Falcons and the Packers. How do you see this game playing out?
Is this for amusement only?
This is for amusement only because I've lost enough money this year.
So, yeah, we can all do that ourselves, right?
Yeah.
All right, you got me Atlanta first?
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to go with the Atlanta Falcons. And
How come?
I'll even say they'll cover.
How come?
Wow, cover.
I just think the fact that they're playing at a very high level, the secondary of Green Bay can be had. When I looked at that tape, there were a lot of holes that Dak Prescott had available to him. They moved the ball up and down the field. Dallas did, and I think Atlanta will do the same.
All right, game 2, the Patriots and the Steelers.
I'm going to go with the Patriots, and again, I will even go out on a limb and say they will cover. Tom Brady is very good against zone defensive teams. The Pittsburgh Steelers are a zone defensive team. Tom Brady is good against those zone defenses because his wide receivers are intelligent and they make the adjustments once the ball is snapped. The defense of the Steelers will give you a lot of different zone looks, a lot of change-ups, but it's still zone. The receivers for the Patriots will find the voids in those zones, and Brady will have a big day, and the Patriots go on to the Super Bowl.
Jaws, do you believe in bulletin board fodder? I mean, we've talked to some people, and they laugh it off. There's no such thing. You can't be more motivated than you would be playing in a championship game. But, what they had Tomlin saying on the Facebook Live and then what Edelman said about the Steelers, is that stuff used and is it effective?
It's used and it's effective. And I can only go on my 17 years of experience as an NFL quarterback, played for coaches like Chuck Knox, Dick Vermeil, Buddy Ryan, Don Shula, Marty Schottenheimer. Those coaches combined won almost 1,000 games in the National Football League, close to 1,000 games. And they would take bulletin board material, and that's exactly where they would put it, on the bulletin board. Every smart coach knows the only people that he cares to reach are the players in the locker room. And that's what's important. And the players will buy into that stuff. When the other team's coach calls you a bunch of a-holes, That is bulletin board material. I don't care how anyone wants to blow it off, say it's meaningless.
Right.
Coaches know they can motivate their players, and they can use it.
And I've always believed that, and I think Michael believed it, but I for 15 years I've been doing the pre and post with Greg Buttle, and he says he laughs at that, and he played in the league. He says, you're playing in the championship game. You got to be able to motivate yourself. You shouldn't be able to use what other people say. He believes that only the unprofessional are the ones that are actually moved by that.
I would certainly disagree with Greg. I have great respect for him. But the coaches that I was around, they used everything they had at their disposal to get their team motivated. And kind of an oh, by the way, when I covered the Steelers and their run back in Super Bowl 40 when they beat Seattle, I remember, and Bill Cowher's a good friend of mine. We were teammates with the Eagles, and Bill gave me a lot of access to that team. And when you talk about bulletin board material, I don't know if there were anyone maybe as good as Bill Cowher. And that Steeler team had to go on the road to Cincinnati, go on the road to Indianapolis, go on the road to Denver to get to the Super Bowl. I mean, and Bill just put in their mind that motivation of that bunker mentality. We're on the road, us against the world. And it didn't matter if other people were laughing on the outside. The players believed in what Bill was talking about. That's all that matters is the guys you're speaking to, and that's the team. So Bill Cowher believes in that bulletin board material as well.
Where do you think Tony Romo's going to go? And do you think there's any chance that the Cowboys keep him with that big cap number just to back up Dak?
You know, my original thought was he would stay as a backup. You never know in this league. If very few teams have a quality backup, and certainly Tony Romo would be that. But the more I've thought this through, I think it's time to really give this team to Dak Prescott, say, hey, it's your team. And Tony, thank you for the incredible 10 years of service and the class act you've been, but time to move on.
If you're Houston, do you admit a mistake with Osweiler and sign Romo?
I do. I would move on from Brock, and I would try to get a veteran guy in there. I'm telling you, I talked a moment ago about that Texans defense. They were phenomenal last week against the Patriots. I'm watching that game, and I'm going, oh, boy, this team gets a quarterback and a little improvement in the offensive line. Their offensive line struggled. But if they get a quarterback, they got some weapons. They got a solid running game. Get a quarterback that can make some plays and hit open receivers. They could be the team to beat next year.
Ron, do you have any early thoughts on Deshaun Watson translating to the NFL?
I've only watched games on television, and I sometimes hate to make an evaluation based on just watching TV, but I do like the athleticism that I see. I don't like some of the mechanics. I see some inaccurate throws, but it's hard to evaluate a guy just on TV. Maybe next month when I start breaking down these college quarterbacks, I'll be happy to come on and give you an evaluation.
One final thing, because you have an ownership stake in an Arena League football. I think you guys won the championship, so congratulations.
Oh, thank you very much. The Philadelphia Soul, the world champions of the Arena Football League.
There you go. There you go. Now, the Jets today find out that their owner is going to be the ambassador to Great Britain. How do you think this affects this team? He's going to have his brother as the guy who runs things here in New York. Do you think it's going to have an adverse effect on an organization?
I don't think so. From what I know of Woody Johnson, he really wants to win, and he will do anything it takes to win. And that commitment is there from him. But he wasn't one of these guys that was hands-on, telling everybody what to do. Certainly he's the owner, and he was involved. But he wasn't one of those guys that was around every day and screaming and hollering and wanting to be the guy that's running the team like some other teams have in the NFL. So I don't think it'll have a real adverse effect. And I think it's a great opportunity. Remember Dan Rooney of the Steelers went over, I believe,
Ireland.
Where did he go?
Ireland. Yep.
Ireland to be an ambassador. Didn't seem to hurt the Steelers.
No, it didn't. I know a lot of Jet fans are worried, but some of them are saying it can't be worse than it's been, so we'll see how it plays out.
I won't go there.
Ron, we love having you on. Thank you for taking the time.
Yeah, let's talk again, guys. Thank you.
All right, be well. That's Ron Jaworski, our very own, and boy, he immerses himself in that stuff, and he just came right out and said Tom Brady's the best of all time.